Kevin Owens questioning Cody Rhodes again.
And in AEW, we jump right into Ospreay versus Ricochet.
It's time to roll around the ring. All right, Bad Blood coming up, and as we talked about last week, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu. They kind of inserted Kevin Owens into this past week, which we saw that leading in to the title match at Bash in Berlin with KO and Cody. Is KO trusting Cody? Are we getting a heel turn? Whatever it may be. They had that segment. Let's start with the segment first. The face-to-face at Georgia Tech.
Yes.
Of course, Cody from Atlanta. Bad Blood is in Atlanta. Roman went to Georgia Tech, played football there. And they have this face-to-face on the football field at Georgia Tech. How'd you feel about this?
I thought it was great. It's the same reaction I had going back some years when you watch the Boneyard match with Taker and AJ.
Oh, yeah.
Just the whole cinematic style that they can do when they want to do this. I almost wonder if this was a call or just a agreed upon thing to do between like Triple H and The Rock.
Sure.
Like, let's just go there with it.
Sure.
Because I think it was more successful in the setting they had it than if they had done this in the ring.
Yeah.
Especially when Roman had made that line about "I'm coming back for what's mine."
Yes.
I 100% believe the fans would have like popped big on that. You would have been forcing, like as you said before, you're forcing the crowd to choose if it would have been in the ring.
Yeah, I think it's for that sake. I think it's very smart to go that route because you don't want fans turning on either one.
Right.
Right. Of course, we know how over Cody is, but people are very excited that Roman's back. So you're going to turn into this thing where it's like if Roman says he wants to be champion and people are like, hell yeah, then that means you don't want Cody to be champion. So it's smart to go that route. Plus, with the amount of story that we have told between Cody and Roman, you have to do something different, right? Cody and the bloodline in general. Because you're talking, of course, we're talking about this past year's WrestleMania. Let's remember, and I feel like a lot of people have forgotten, WrestleMania before that was Cody and Roman. And we told a whole story with them there. So it's like if you're going to continue this Cody bloodline thing, which is a whole nother topic, you're going to have to get creative and do something different. It's funny, the kids like to use the word cinema. Yeah. Right? Especially in wrestling. Like, it's turned into a thing in the wrestling world where it's like every time there's a great segment or a great promo
this
or whatever.
This is cinema.
And I'm just like, and the amount of times that was used in the Cody story leading up to WrestleMania.
But like, wrestling in itself, sports entertainment, whatever, that's the point of it. It's supposed to be, when I say cinematic, I'm talking about the look. It looked like a movie.
Well, that's the thing. This was the first actual, for wrestling at least, the first actual legitimate definition of cinema. Right? Yes. Everything that Cody and the Bloodline did leading up to WrestleMania with Seth, amazing. I agree. But to use the term cinema, it felt like I was actually watching a movie. And the fact that it made sense for what they were trying to get across in terms of the point between Cody and Roman and leading into this Bad Blood match, you got to get creative with it. It makes sense that it's in Atlanta and the ties that it has for both of them. I loved it.
Do you feel, I want to gauge your response on this because I kind of got this. First thing that came to mind watching this was, this is awesome. Secondly, I thought of this in years going forward, it's going to be in the same stratosphere as the lead up to WrestleMania 17 between Rock and Austin.
Yes.
The Limp Bizkit My Way promo, all that stuff.
Yes.
Which also got me thinking, when you look at this promo, did you get shades of Cody kind of being a heel in this exchange?
I mean, I think that's almost the route they may be forced to go.
Because
right?
think about it. Think about what was said, and then again, I'm overanalyzing it too. I could be just doing that, but Cody, what was the whole thing going into WrestleMania 39, right? Finish the story.
Yes.
Unsuccessful. Okay. Then the hard times angle going through the whole year with Brock and then the Shinsuke feud on TV, everything, right? Then it was finish the story.
Yeah.
Cody has invested so much into dethroning Roman and to doing everything he said. I'm going to take everything that's yours. All this stuff's going to be taken from you, yada, yada, yada.
Sure.
Now Roman's back with nothing to lose, like he said. But he wants that title back. Cody has done all this work to solidify himself as I'm finally at the top of the company where my father's never been.
Right.
I have more to lose than you.
Yes.
So, like Austin back in 01, when Austin told The Rock in that sit-down interview with Jim Ross, I need to beat you, Rock. I need it more than you could ever imagine. I'm getting that same vibe from Roman and Cody of Cody's like, I need to hold on to this more than you need it back.
Yeah, and I love that. Of course, WrestleMania 17 ended with Austin turning heel, aligning himself with Vince McMahon and Triple H. I don't know that is what's going to cause this heel turn.
Okay.
Because in the Austin Rock feud back in 2001, neither guy was getting booed leading into that. When Austin won the Rumble that year, crowd popped. When Rock won the title against Kurt, crowd popped.
It was we love them both. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Everyone loved both. Of course, I'm sure internally people had like, I think Austin's going to win. I think Rock's going to win.
Well, they were in Texas. You got to remember. So that
that's
crowd was going to sway. Too. Yeah, that crowd was going to sway.
But I don't think they needed. Of course, that Austin heel turn is debated about a lot. I don't think they needed to go that route.
No.
Even if it was good, I don't think they needed to go that route because both guys were still red hot.
Yeah.
The one thing that's going to be different for the Cody-Roman feud potentially, if we go another round with these guys, is the crowd itself, because we're in a whole different era, of course. And now we're in an era currently that people are very excited and love Roman. Mm-hmm. They are pushing Roman as a babyface. They have the heel bloodline. If the OG bloodline gets back together, they're going to be pushed as babyfaces. Why would Cody want to align himself with them?
Right.
So that's where the heel turn's going to come in. Because it's not necessarily, if Cody gets booed, they're going to have to make him heel. It isn't that simple, right? You let the crowd, dictate whatever. But it would make sense for the character because now Cody has the right to say, you guys are turning on me. If Cody ends up getting booed by the end of the year in a promo against Roman, Cody has every right to come out and say, I'm sorry, do you guys not remember WrestleMania 40?
Yeah.
That was less than a year ago.
What if Cody aligns himself with The Rock?
And that's my thing.
Remember, I'm your champion.
Yes, and remember what happened last year. They let the crowd, they were forced. It is a difference. There's a difference between letting the crowd book your show and feeling the crowd out, and then, of course, letting your characters react how they would actually react when the crowd, right? When The Rock first came back, he was babyface. Yeah. Remember day one, right? He came out, Jinder Mahal, big pop. I want to sit at the head of the table, big pop. I'm taking your spot, Cody. Boo.
Yeah.
What happened? That's when Final Boss came out. Yeah. Right?
That's when they had to pivot.
But that's what The Rock would do, right? Because how dare you? It's the same thing with The Rock. 2 months ago, you guys loved the idea of me sitting at the head of the table.
Yeah.
Now here I am to do it, and you're booing me. So that's what the character would do. If Cody gets booed at any point in this story, he should turn heel. If the crowd does not turn on Cody, Cody should not turn heel.
How easy would that transition be for him? Because you've brought it up in past episodes, and other people have commented on it too. Cody, if you take away a lot of that presentation that makes him a fan favorite.
Yeah.
His presence, his presentation, the way he speaks, his cadence, the words he uses, Cody Rhodes is a heel.
Yes. I say we've
disagreed.
We've disagreed,
but I'm seeing it now.
The
transition will be so easy.
Yes.
To him, just it's that guy who is just. They can easily be from being confident to condescending.
Yes.
And when you become condescending, nobody likes you.
Well, and Cody has played a heel before in wrestling, and people, and we're not talking WWE days. We're talking when he went to New Japan, AEW, and everything, TNA.
Yeah.
Plays it great. He's an asshole, and he plays it perfectly. And again, this was a whole debate that we had that was a very controversial thing to bring up. The way he presents himself is very much how a heel presents himself, right? Think of all the babyface champions in the past years, the faces of the company, right? Yeah. And you have guys like John Cena come out in jorts and a t-shirt, Austin come out in jorts and, a vest and whatever. The Rock just wearing a fancy shirt, the way Seth, Roman, all of them. Think about how the heels, right? The Miz, Triple H when he was on his run. All these guys, of course, when Vince was on TV, the bosses come out in the suit. I'm better than you, whatever. That's how Cody dresses. That's how Cody presents himself.
For me, it was I'm a fan of subtle things, and for me, it was Cody stepping in front of Roman to stop him from leaving.
Yeah.
Like, I'm getting the last word.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I go, okay.
Yeah.
Because Roman, in that entire thing, Roman looks like like you said, I have nothing. I'm back to get my title back.
Yeah, but this is a story, too, where if the crowd doesn't choose, you do not need to make either one of these guys
don't force it.
You don't need to force it.
No.
That's what they did in 01. Right?
Yeah.
They tried to force too much into what was already. It's Rock and Austin.
That's why The Rock stayed red hot, and Austin's
Yes.
diminished in that.
Because Rock and Austin, right? Like, that's your two biggest names, the biggest WrestleMania. That's your story.
Yeah.
Right? And then they try to force Deborah in there, and Rock is... Deborah's The Rock's manager, and it's like, we don't need all of this. It's The Rock and Austin.
Yeah.
So it's like, Cody and Roman, you don't need all of that. But if the crowd starts swaying one way or the other, that's when the story is going to be told. Because if Cody is still getting the reactions that he is getting and being the person that he is throughout this whole story, it makes no sense for him to turn heel.
No. If he's still the merch is flying off the shelves, he's still getting cheered, he's still taking whatever, giving the belt to the kids and all that.
Yeah.
Leave it alone.
Yeah.
There's no reason to change that. That's like with the John Cena argument. Well, just change him to be heel. Why? It's working. Don't mess with it.
It's exactly right. So Cody could definitely play it off perfectly.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, do you have to go that route? You don't need to force it. Cody can do all these things and say exactly and do what he's doing that you pointed out against Roman, and Roman can fire right back, especially when he has his bloodline back with him, and neither guy needs to go officially heel. It's just one of those things where I want what you have, and we're just like Rock and Austin. We're two of the top guys, but there can only be one.
And also, well, unlike 2001, there's two different brands now.
Yeah.
So if one guy is, you're here and you're here.
Yeah.
There you go.
And that's it, right? So whoever wins or whoever loses, whatever it may be, they could still exist as the top guys.
Yeah. On
separate
Raw or
brands.
SmackDown, whatever. Yeah.
So after seeing this segment, which, like you said, beautifully done.
Yes.
Her Jeremy Borash, by the way, was behind that, producing that.
Okay.
So shout out to him. We see Kevin Owens watching it. And now, of course, you got Byron Saxton. How do you feel about it? Kevin Owens is questioning it. Comes out, promo in the ring, questioning it, so on. How do you feel about them, inserting Kevin Owens into this again? He's questioning Cody Rhodes. Looked like he was considering hitting him with the chair again at the end of the night, at the end of SmackDown. How do you feel about that?
I think it makes sense. Well, think about it. I mean, if you put it into a real life situation, if you somebody who basically was like, hey, I got your back in this situation against these individuals.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to stick up for you. We help each other out. We, whatever. Okay. Now to turn around and see that person being like, oh, well, I have to kind of align with them right now.
Yeah.
Because it's like, then what the hell was all that?
Yes.
So naturally, I'm watching well, Kevin Owens has a point. He's perfectly in the right to feel the way he does.
Yeah, and it's funny because, of course, the first thing that comes out is heel turn. Yeah. And that's what they're kind of, he's considering. Kevin Owens is not turning heel. I'll tell you that right now. And I'll tell you, he's probably not even going to take out Cody, right? It's not going to be, it's that cookie cutter wrestling storyline that we're so used to.
It's a paint by numbers thing. Well, we have to do this if we do this, and we have to do it this way.
And we see him looking at him side eye, so he must be turning it. Triple H doesn't function that way. Think of every character, every story. There are so many wrinkles in every story that are just there to keep it interesting. Right. That's how Triple H keeps the show interesting, start to finish, on both brands. So in this sense, this whole Kevin Owens questioning whatever, this does not mean Kevin Owens turns heel. Because if Kevin Owens turns heel, how does that look in the long run? It makes no sense for him to turn heel because he's not with Cody, but he's going to be with the Bloodline? Of course not.
No. So what's the
against
direction
the Bloodline, he's going to be a face.
Right.
So what are we doing? So that's where it turns into, no, we're not turning Kevin Owens heel, but it's realistic. Right? It's that realistic. There's plenty of times throughout wrestling that you look at two baby faces and how one acts and how the other, and you would look at one and say, if I was that person, I'd be looking at so-and-so and being like, screw that, right? Yeah. But because it's wrestling, it's like you're either a heel or a baby face. It isn't that simple anymore. It's not black and white, heel, babyface, right? It's Kevin Owens is a babyface. Cody Rhodes is a babyface. Cody's in a situation where, sure, it might kind of make sense for him to team with Roman, common enemy thing, but Kevin Owens has the right to be like, Roman, you're teaming with that guy?
Of all people?
Of all people? Yeah. And it does not mean Kevin Owens has to go heel.
No, and that again, it's a tired trope of, well, we have to do it this way. It's like there's nothing in any sort of law of pro wrestling, sports entertainment that says you have to.
No,
you tell a story.
Yes,
and the story has variables. The story has shades of gray. The story has it's if you want to imitate real life situations, you allow those little variables and those little aspects of real life situations to be showcased on TV.
Well, and again, Triple H, he treats these superstars like humans now, not characters, right? Because when you treat them like characters, like you said, you have these tropes in wrestling that if this happens, this always happens.
Yeah.
If this happens, this is how they always react. Where Triple H is just like, no, they're humans. Kevin Owens is friends with Cody.
Yeah.
They both fought Roman for years and years. Now Cody is teaming with Roman. How would a human react?
Yeah, you don't back yourself against the wall because like, well, we have to do it this way. It's like,
Right.
no, you don't.
You
You
don't
don't have to do it that way.
Something else we didn't need to do, but we're doing. We're going to jump over to AEW. It was confirmed.
Nice segue.
It was confirmed on Dynamite, and that would be Ricochet. He got a few wins. Sammy Guevara, the Beast Mortos. He got a few wins after, remember, Will Ospreay.
Pretty dope match with Mortos, though.
Yeah, Mortos is awesome.
Like, talk about a guy who's a Swiss Army knife. I'm talking about Beast Mortos.
Yes.
Guy who's a Swiss Army knife with pretty much anyone in the ring.
Yes.
Good match.
I love it. And then he goes back to playing fourth fiddle behind Roderick Strong, Mike Bennett, and Matt Taven, and it's great.
And here we are.
Ricochet gets those wins, though, after Will Ospreay told him at All Out, go rack up some wins and
Yeah.
whatever. It's been 2 weeks since that whole promo, and Ricochet says, guess what? I talked to Tony, and anniversary show in a couple weeks. We're getting Ricochet versus Will Ospreay for that title. How do you feel?
I feel like it could have been a pay-per-view.
At least?
Because I also question, if I'm booking, which good or bad, this is probably why I'm not.
Sure.
I'm not having Ospreay drop his title.
Exactly.
So if I'm not having him drop his title, and then Ricochet loses that match that I haven't even really built up, what am I doing after that?
Yep.
Instead of letting this thing build to where I can get to a position where not only can I have Ospreay drop his title,
Yes.
but I can also have him go off into the main event scene now and have Ricochet carry that title. I feel like you're condensing what could be a good 2 to 3 months
Yep.
into 2
At
weeks.
least.
Yeah.
People got to remember how big of a deal this match is, right? We get so excited to see a great match. The match is going to be fucking awesome, of
Yeah.
course. But, we know the history with Ricochet and Will Ospreay. We know how long it's been since they've been in the ring. And since they've last been in the ring, look at the stars that they both become.
Yeah.
Will Ospreay is a top 3. He's the best worker in the business right now in my eyes. He's a top
Honestly, he's
5.
basically the face of AEW.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's a top 5 wrestler, generically speaking, in the business right now.
Mm-hmm.
Ricochet went on to WWE, won titles, became a big known name in the wrestling industry. And now they're in the same company again. So they separated, they became big stars, and now they're both in the same company as bigger names.
Yeah.
How are we not making this a bigger deal? That's my first point. My second point to this is, if you are Ricochet should be going to... First thing Ricochet should have said to Tony Khan is, do not put me anywhere near Will Ospreay for at least 6 months. Because you left WWE because it got crowded,
Yep.
right? Because there's not much room for you to succeed anymore. You had your U.S. title. You had your match with Logan Paul. You had your moments. And now with as much else that's going on, kind of just ran out of room. You just said it. And I don't think anyone should have Ricochet beating Will Ospreay here, right?
I think that would just be doubling down on bad.
That's the point.
Yeah.
So then you go somewhere else to then fall short again. Let's also keep in mind, he debuted in a match that he didn't win either.
Right.
So it's like, if I'm Ricochet, the whole point was for my brand go somewhere else so I can be treated and booked like the star that we all know he is.
Right. And honestly, you could have... So I get that the thought process here is probably Tony Khan and company thinking, we got to do something big. We got to do something big for the show, right?
Sure.
Yeah, you can. You can have Tony Khan or whatever, Lil Pierce make the announcement.
Will Pierce.
That Ricochet went to Tony Khan asking for the match. Tony Khan says it's not the right time, but he wants to do something big. It's going to be Ospreay and Ricochet teaming up against whomever for the main event of that show. Great, because you can still tease the tension. We still get them in the ring together, but they're not going one-on-one yet.
Yes.
And you could do something like that where it's like, okay, oh, wow, they're awesome. They get to showcase how good they are. They work together. And now we know that match is still going to happen. But it's just like, dude, you don't have to rush it. It's like you bring him in just for this match, and then you're not going to know what to do with him.
So, and that's the thing. And it's so obviously rushed because you had Ospreay specifically say, bro, you just got here.
Yeah.
Go get some wins. It's been 11 days since he said that.
Couldn't wait.
And he's
Couldn't
like,
wait.
You got enough wins. We got the match.
He's
He
had
still
like
just
3
got
matches,
here.
4 matches at most, right?
Yes.
3 matches, 4, whatever. Like, dude, give me a couple months at least. Like, let this thing like marinate a little bit.
And we said the same thing when Ospreay and MJF just jumped to their match on a Dynamite before their All-In match. Again, the match is going to be great, but it just deserves so much story. Ricochet deserves so much more. Because even if Ricochet falls in this match, do you have Ricochet beating Danielson or Moxley, whoever's world champion?
No, I have him going back down the pecking order.
Exactly.
Which is why you build him up to get to this match so that he seems like a bigger deal.
But again, the thing is, too, even if he goes, and I think the perfect route for him before Ospreay is taking the TNT title off Jack Perry at some point.
There you go.
Right? And that could have been a few months down the road, and then Ospreay after that. So even if he loses to Ospreay here and then goes and wins that TNT title, we're still going to be like, yeah, but you still lost to Ospreay. It's a downgrade. It's a downgrade now. It's a downgrade
because I would rather have Ricochet coming in, basically going for the shooting for the stars, right, and then being told by the elite whatever, like, oh, that's not your place.
Yeah,
just
like Ospreay did.
Yeah. And just have them be like, okay, everybody's telling me I'm not worthy of it. I'm going to prove all of you wrong. Not in 3 matches though.
You know what it is? Now they don't have a ranking system. Now it takes just 3 wins to get you a title match. So, hell yeah, love it.
You're for it or against it, right? It's just
at this point, because we've seen it so many different times with so many different big stories. I'm just going to say it like this because especially with what we've seen them lose, this is Tony Khan booking scared. Because I think Triple H on one end is comfortable enough to say, I'm going to take my time telling this story. You know why? Because I know I have that time. I know 6 months from now, they're both still going to be here.
Yep.
They're still going to want to be here. And I can tell this story and drag this shit out, and I won't give it to you until next March.
Yeah.
Because I know I can. I don't think Tony Khan is confident enough in everything that has happened within AEW behind the scenes to say, I am confident that Will Ospreay and Ricochet will both be here in 6 months for me to hold off on this match. This is Tony Khan saying, I need to have this match now because I don't know if I can have this match next year.
Not only that, but it's just like you throw, I feel like the booking is sort of like spontaneous, erratic, and plus, and we've seen with like the Danielson and like that, it's you book to sell tickets.
Yeah.
Which you're supposed to in wrestling, but you also tell long-term stories to keep the crowds invested, to keep them coming back to see the payoff. Not, hey, show up, we're going to give you this match. It's like, why am I getting it now?
Right.
I'll show up for it. What are you going to do after the match is over?
That's the whole point. Like, what do you do after that?
I constantly feel like they book for like every 30 days.
Yeah.
And nothing beyond.
And again, I used to give them the excuse when it comes to that type of booking. Well, they only have 4 pay-per-views a year back when they had that, right?
Now they got more.
Now they got more. And guess what? A week after their anniversary show is WrestleDream.
Yep.
You at least could have done that.
Yeah.
At least could have done that. But and again, this is also, like you said, tickets aren't going great. So this feels like a desperation move too, which you don't want to look that desperate because that doesn't always equal ratings.
No, sometimes I think you don't go for the Hail Mary pass. You keep your head down and you plot. It's like, look, this isn't what we want it to be. Let's just get it done.
Yeah, make the most of it.
Yeah, and we'll just reroute coming out of it.
So they have Grand Slam coming up, and again another big show that So on a lot of stuff, Grand Slam Dynamite, Grand Slam Collision. Let's just run through real quick some of the stuff that they kind of brought up is going to be taking place in New York. Wheeler Yuta says he is going to defend the trios titles with Pac, with Claudio, Moxley, and them had this whole backstage segment saying, "Yo, like, what you doing? Remember what we taught you?" Everything like that. Wheeler says, "I am a champion. I will defend with them." How do you feel about how they've treated this Wheeler situation, and how do you see this playing out?
I mean, they got him, featuring him as just distraught all over the place. He's forgetting his title. He's doing, So I like that they're at least having a consistent follow up where he's conflicted.
Yeah.
And I see that kind of storytelling. I appreciate because you have a focus. You're saying this is how anybody would be in that situation. Sure. He feels trapped with his group. Are they with me? I'm with them. Do I have to be with them? What's going on with Bryan?
Yeah.
I almost I don't know. I would be easy to predict they turn on him, but I'm like, but he's holding one of their titles. Why, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's the weird part about all this is where that's what stops me. Because first off, I love it, right? And this helps because what they did to the world title picture and Danielson and Nigel and Darby and Mox, that completely ruined for me what happened at All Out.
Yeah.
But this is keeping it going. This keeps what Mox is doing very interesting right now. I don't know because of that title and who they're facing, Private Party and whoever Private Party gets. They're not. don't put the titles on.
No.
Right.
Especially after what we saw.
Right.
It makes no sense to do that.
But my thing is I don't want to see Wheeler stay with them in the long run because this is going to feel too much like Christian Cage and the Patriarchy. Yeah. Because they're treating him like little boy, let me teach you, right? You know he doesn't love it, but I'm going to stay here because they're showing me the ways. And watching how Wheeler reacted at All Out, it at no point will make sense for him to not be on Danielson's side, right? Because that was a very intense reaction, which he did awesome at. So I think at some point, I don't know if it's at Grand Slam, at some point down the line, it's going to end up with Wheeler, whether they turn on him, which is probably going to be the route, away from them. You just have to wait for a suitable trio to take those titles off of them.
Yeah.
And I don't know that Grand Slam is it.
I think that is too. I mean, if you're going to tell a story long term, because you can tell a story long term with Wheeler Yuta just focused on his character development in this whole situation. It doesn't have to be lumped in with everybody else. And you don't have to rush that final product of that with him. You could take your time with it a little bit.
Mentioned Bryan Danielson, Nigel McGuinness. They keep promoting it as if Bryan Danielson is cleared, he'll be here kind of thing. Nigel cut a promo on Collision on Danielson. Tony Schiavone kind of got in his face. Fine. Are you expecting Danielson to show up?
If he does, he's in street clothes. I don't. But see, this is why I don't like this. I don't know. There's
so many reasons why I don't like this.
I don't know how you can't have him have the match after what Mox told Darby.
Because if I'm Darby, I'm like, why am I having this match with Mox?
Why am I wrestling you?
Yeah, because I won Royal Rampage and I was told I got a shot at Grand Slam.
Especially if that match takes place first. Right. And then I have to go to the back and watch him wrestle a match, and I just got told he couldn't defend his title against me. So, so I almost feel like either he isn't going to show up, which is going to kind of make it even more. This whole angle will be even more stupid. And now, because here's the thing, if he doesn't show up, you've now planted Nigel McGuinness in the middle of all of this situation for seemingly no reason.
Correct.
To appeal to the Ring of Honor crowd for whatever reason, the 10 people that watch it.
Yep.
And it's just like, you couldn't have done this earlier or later?
Later.
Like, even with Danielson not having the title potentially? Yeah. Like, why are you've mucked this whole thing up so much now.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Nigel, showed up at Wembley trying to get that shot. I get the history. I don't care enough about Nigel. Like you said, it's a Ring of Honor thing, and that's fine. You could have told a story later in Danielson's title run, right? Let Danielson go through whatever they're going to go through with Mox and in that whole story. If they end up putting a title on Mox, whatever it may be, because Nigel and Danielson do not need a title, right? Nigel has always hated Danielson since day one, right? So that doesn't need a title. It's fine if the title is there. But like, even if Danielson were to lose the title to Mox, they could still do this later. So, I mean, that's the whole thing of it too. But just to keep, trying to keep consistency alive, at least their inconsistent consistency. So, we took another...
They're consistently inconsistent.
Yes. So we took another turn in the story. So trying to follow what you last told me is that Danielson's not cleared. Yeah. Danielson not showing up is a bad look. That's your champion, right? Yeah. Danielson showing up in street clothes. They didn't clear me. I'm still going to kick your ass for talking shit. Yeah. That is probably the route to go here.
Probably. And then that's the only way I can think of it. You showcase the fact that he still is injured.
Yes.
I guess. But then it's like, that leads into, so if you're that hurt, why are you still champion?
Again.
You should probably vacate that title.
Speaking of champion, Darby mentioned it. WrestleDream, Darby Allin or Jon Moxley. Who would you rather see face Danielson?
I mean, just because we're talking Washington, I would want to see Darby and Danielson. But honestly, this whole thing kind of for me has made the story become Moxley dropping that title to Darby, because Mox basically is the one that told him you're not ready to be a world champion.
Yes,
that's your long-term story.
Yeah. That
Darby defeats him for the title.
I don't want to see Darby as champion because I agree with Moxley when he says I don't see Darby as a champion. I just don't see it. Darby's awesome. He's got a cool look. Of course, the stunts. I know Tony Khan loves
It's the Rey
him.
Mysterio effect.
Sure. So it's like, okay, you can get that route because I would rather Darby get this shot first and build to Mox and Danielson.
Yeah.
I think Mox taking the title off Danielson makes sense in the long run because of whatever heel faction this ends up being with, Shafir and everyone else and whoever from the Blackpool Combat.
Which, by the way, out of this entire thing that's going on, that's going great.
Yes.
I'm loving that.
I love that their look with Pac.
Yeah.
Like, and again,
Pac has added a whole new level of like danger to this thing that was not there before.
Yes,
because once you took back when they took Regal out of the equation, it was just a group that was existing as like, oh, they're pretty cool. It's like but now you've added him in, and then the whole attack on Bryan, and it's just like they're this it's just a group of mercenaries that are going through just beating the crap out of everybody, and it's like there's no stopping them.
And that's the thing, because what also takes away from their danger and Pac being there, Pac can talk more so Claudio doesn't have to.
Yes.
Sorry, we've said it 1,000 times, we'll say it again. Once he speaks, it takes away everything else that's great about him.
Yeah.
Like, just stop. You're great in the ring, you're dangerous in the ring, and then you speak and we just lose it.
Yeah.
Right? So, he doesn't have to talk as much anymore, because now Mox can talk, and then if Mox isn't there, Pac can talk for them. So I love that for them, and for that reason, I would have Darby at WrestleDream. It's Washington, whatever, and I would build to a Mox Danielson match where Mox would go over.
Yeah, that would make sense too.
And because think how much heat they would get, because Mox going over Danielson, I retired Bryan Danielson, and there's the heat for that crew.
Especially if you have Danielson come into that match already banged up.
There you go. So because how healthy can you get? A month or two after what happened.
You're that bad right now. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Adam Page is facing Jeff Jarrett in a lumberjack strap match. Do you like this little mini angle to keep Page on a winning run?
Yeah, sure. And Jarrett's a pretty solid opponent. He's not the guy people are paying tickets and clamoring to see. But I like their chemistry in the ring. I like the way their backstage segments. Jarrett can still go on the mic when he needs to. I'm sure the match will be fine. I love when he tells Karen, "Shut up! I'm trying to talk." When she's trying to okay. All right, Jeff, relax. She's like, "Kurt never did that to me." Yeah. So it's man, I love that. No, with this, it's okay. Moving past what we talked about before, and that is why is Adam Page just back that quickly after All Out. Moving past that, I do love this, right? Because Adam Page's story has always been lose, 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 lose. He goes away, he gets drunk again. Now he's back, comes back, lose, 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 so on and so forth. Now we're turning it. That's why I like that he won it All Out. Even though I think it's way too quick that he's back this quick, realistically speaking. I do love that he's in an angle here. There's no reason why he should lose. And 100% goes. No, this has to be a win for him. There's no reason for Jarrett to come out on top in this one. You like Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho feuding over something that happened 4 years ago? I liked the match they just recently had, and I was like, you know what? I would really, really be more into this if this whole stupid story wasn't attached to it. Yep. Because on its own, the match is great. It was fine. Sure. It was fine, and I'm like, see, this is good. Why are we doing all this extra? The backpack thing and the picture and the jacket, like, dude. The match is good. This is just forcing, we need something. We always need something for Jericho. We always need something for Orange Cassidy. Because Orange Cassidy, let's keep in mind, the dude lost everything and he was breaking, and then nothing ever came of that, right? And then we just kind of moved on to his boring self. I'm sorry, he bores me, right? And Jericho and the whole learning triangle, like that thing, Hook took the title, that should have been the end of it. Yeah. But they feel the need to always keep them on TV. So what do? Well, remember 4 years ago? Let's just say he's still mad about that. It's a thing, like you said, with Jericho. It's just this insistence on he has to be featured in something. Yeah. And it's like, no, he doesn't. Jericho can actually go away for a while and that's not even hating on Chris Jericho. It would actually help him. It's like saying John Cena to this day needs to be involved in something. Right. No, he doesn't. He doesn't have to be. When Edge came back in WWE, he was not always in. He would have a feud. He would go away for a month or two, and they, would pop back up. Because your name and your star power has built up so much of a cachet with the fans, where it's like, if I don't see you for a couple months, I'm going to pop big when you show up again. And that's the thing. And that's where it helps Jericho, because we're sick of seeing him because he's on there every week. The angle is cringe because they're forcing stuff to keep him on TV. And if he would just go away for like 3-4 months, and then 4 months from now when someone has an open challenge or a mystery partner and it's Jericho, we'll actually be like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, did they abandon the whole Big Bill turn thing? Did they even address it? It was like a one night thing. Yep. And I know they got there's I don't know. It's just that seemed to have gone by the wayside. I'm like, okay, it's always someone in Jericho's vortex feuds with him. They team with him, then they feud with him, and then they're either better or worse coming out of it. Yep. And because we always got to keep Jericho on TV. Yeah. Speaking of Jericho, Sammy Guevara, someone that was in the Jericho vortex for a while, he wants to challenge Kazuchika Okada for the title. He's been a champion with Dustin Rhodes, had a whole
bunkhouse match on Collision where they went insane. He went off a ladder through tables, does what Sammy Guevara does. Has this tag team with Dustin Rhodes done enough for like a little refresh for Sammy Guevara?
I think it's just me being biasly not into Sammy Guevara.
Sure.
I've enjoyed some of his matches, but again, in that pairing, I'm actually more interested in just watching Dustin Rhodes do Dustin Rhodes things.
Yeah.
And then I'm a fan of Okada, so I'm just like, I'm going to root for Okada in this. I don't really care what Sammy's doing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people care about Sammy Guevara, because nothing's really changed, right? If anything, this pairing with Dustin Rhodes is the most random shit in the world.
Yeah.
The fact that you have Dustin Rhodes on TV telling Sammy Guevara of all people, you're one of the greatest partners I've ever had. Are you kidding me right now? Dustin Rhodes has been in his
entered the
business.
chat.
First off, his brother, right? Like, I can list you so many people that Dustin Rhodes has been connected to over 40 plus years. And you're telling me Sammy Guevara in a month is
Marvelous Mark Merrill was throwing furniture around.
Come on,
Wait a minute.
man. You said what?
It was me and Sable and Ethan Luna. Come on.
And then this is just this is how AEW tells story. Just go call out a champion. We have 12 of them. Call somebody out, right? Yeah. I'm going to face Okada. Okay, you got to go match against Okada.
It's literally Tony Khan opening his toy box and saying, I'm going to play with you two today.
Yeah, you guys go.
You guys are going to fight.
For a title, no less.
No reason why. Just because.
Yeah, I don't need any of this. Jamie Hayter has been, let's keep in mind, Jamie Hayter's back.
Yeah.
By the way.
Returned
at Wembley. Been telling the story with Saraya, but on Rampage. They're having a match at Grand Slam next week. Are you surprised that this story between Jamie Hayter and Saraya has been told only on Rampage?
I'm surprised I'm hearing about it because I really don't watch Rampage.
Does anybody?
And I don't think you do either. Let's just be real.
Come on.
Doesn't that kind of speak volumes, though?
Yeah.
If your story is only relegated to Rampage?
I
think people in AEW even know. Nobody, even in AEW, people in the back, probably, the people who are producing Rampage probably don't even watch the show as it's being produced.
That's my thing. Rampage is taped after Dynamite.
Right.
Most of the building leaves.
This
is as disrespectful as it gets to Jamie Hayter. You're pushing Mercedes Moné every single week. They've done nothing with Mariah May's title run so far, and that's nothing against Mariah May. She's awesome. And you have someone like Jamie Hayter living on Rampage with someone like Saraya, who, by the way, her pairing with Harley Cameron, entertaining as fuck, right? But we don't know because most people don't watch Rampage.
On Dynamite or Collision?
It is as disrespectful as it gets to put these two on Rampage only. And Jamie Hayter alone. They had Jamie Hayter return on the fucking pre-show of all that.
She pissed somebody off.
That's where it goes to. Did she piss somebody off? Because everyone was clamoring for a Jamie Hayter return. We got it on a pre-show, and we've only been able to see her on Rampage.
Yeah.
She's only had one match. Most of her appearances on Rampage is getting involved in Saraya's matches. What are we doing here?
Why is Rampage still a thing? We can do
why is Rampage on TV?
It's just why. Put it on. I don't know, dude. Put it on your socials. I don't know.
So. Speaking of the women's division, Britt Baker says she is coming back. A little promo. I like the promo, a little cryptic, fun. I liked it. For the anniversary show, Serena Deeb challenging her for a match at the anniversary show. You think Britt Baker's run at the top of the women's division is just about done?
I would not be surprised if, I don't know what her contract situation is.
Well, yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if she considers going elsewhere at some point.
Yeah.
We might be pretty far removed from that.
Sure.
But I don't know because, like you said, we still have the Mariah May's title run. Mercedes Moné is still being featured, for better or worse. So at some point, it's like where it's like the Jamie Hayter thing. Where do you fit in all this?
Sure.
Are they going to allow you to fit in all this, even if you're the one that has the obviously more talent in that role?
It's funny because the women's division at different times, right? It feels like they're always pushing who we don't want, and we're always watching someone else in the women's division saying, "Give them more time." Right? Like Willow was somebody, give them more time, but then they're pushing somebody else.
Yeah.
Toni Storm, it took them forever to put her at the top, and then Mariah May, and now we're focused on Mercedes Moné, and we're like Jamie Hayter's on Rampage, and Britt Baker's
By
back.
the way,
you know what I mean? What are we doing? So I don't know. It's not Britt's fault. Britt could, work to an NXT because she's almost there. She's not there. I know there's a lot to work on. She took a lot of shit for the All-In match. Wasn't great. There's a lot to work on. You put her in NXT for a year.
You get her in that in the WWE system.
Yes.
Of how this is how we do matches.
And developmental, yep.
Yes. Put her some time in there. She'll be just fine.
Speaking of WWE, let's get through a few more topics before we get out of here. They're still talking about the dissension of the New Day a little bit, hinting at it. No Odyssey Jones.
Right.
And again, we don't need to get into that situation, but they're still, despite that being gone, still pushing a Kofi Xavier or something. Xavier's going to lose his mind, whatever it may be. What do you make of all this?
I think we're gearing up for a Big E appearance. No physicality.
Yeah.
But I think that maybe trying to be the voice of reason.
Sure.
If anything. But I think... I almost feel like Kofi would be the one to turn heel in this situation. But I don't know. It could really go either way. I think there needs to be some sort of... You're coming off this whole thing with carrying Cross, so you need to kind of get that stench off you. And it's just like you need a refresher. And if that means kind of taking a hiatus from New Day, then do so. Because Woods and Kingston can do fine individually.
Yeah, they can. Don't touch them. I just say don't touch them. If this is leading to a Big E appearance and that's kind of the payoff, and he's what fixes everything,
that's what I'm thinking. Fine. Yeah, go with that.
Because they can go on a singles run, even if you want to give Xavier a singles push, where he's still a member of the New Day, but Kofi's like, you do your thing, I'm going to go do my thing. Good luck. We'll stay in touch.
Which is kind of what I want them to do with the Usos.
Yeah.
Like we, out of convenience, we can come back together and be a team.
Yeah.
Plus, stay the tag team division. Do we really want to start splitting up tag teams?
Well, and that's the thing, because let's not act like the tag team division in WWE is like loaded. It is not. It's not empty, but it's not loaded where you can afford to break up some
There have been better
teams.
Decades with the tag team division. Yeah.
I'm mad though that Big E would basically be playing the role that everyone wanted Rikishi to play for Jimmy and Jay leading into WrestleMania.
That was a missed opportunity.
Big E's gonna come in and be the dad. Like, okay, kids, what's going on here?
After that match we saw at WrestleMania, Rikishi's like, I'm glad I didn't get involved with that. That's your problem.
Y'all figure that out.
I never had that problem. Everybody loved me. He loved my matches.
Oh, my God. On SmackDown, Nia Jax got pinned by both Bayley and Naomi. So Bayley and Naomi will face each other next week to decide who's going to face her at Bad Blood.
I feel like we've been down this route in one way, shape, or form. But also, speaking of women that we never, like you said in AEW, they're pushing the people we don't want them to push, we don't care about.
Yep.
At some point about a year ago, everybody wanted Nia Jax back out of the company. Nobody wanted her there. Now, I think this is the greatest thing.
She's awesome.
I love where she's at. I love her as champ. I love her as queen of the ring. I think this is just amazing.
Tiffany with her, I love that.
Yeah, it's just, it all works. It all works so great. Yeah.
I think this added angle is to tell more of the story of Tiffany Stratton screwing this up.
Because we're getting there.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's why they did this. But it's funny, we were talking earlier about realistic booking, whatever. This is the opposite of it. Yeah. This was one of the most cartoony finishes I've ever seen. Forced finishes. We both need a pinner.
The double pin in wrestling usually does look very like choreographed.
No one's doing that.
It's like,
no
okay.
one's doing that.
Yeah.
First off, the ref should be like, all right, what are we doing here? Number one.
Yeah, hold on. No. Restart.
Yeah, whatever. And then if I'm Bayley or if I'm Naomi, I'm going, whoa, what are you doing? Push it, right? So that's where it's just like, it never, and it's not a knock on any of the wrestlers that have to do this spot. It never looks natural. It never looks legit. And these three in this story is way too good to be having something like this be involved in it.
It's the equivalent of like, we're getting this big build up to this awesome match and the match ends with a roll up pin.
Yes.
It's like, that was it?
That's it?
Like, come on.
I was like, they did not do that spot. With Bayley, Naomi, and Nia Jax, come on, man. You have a whole Tiffany thing that you could have done. That's whatever. Saturday Night's Main Event's coming back in December on NBC.
I'm a kid again.
In Long Island.
In Long Island. MJF going to be there? Is this his debut?
You never know.
You got that tattoo? You got that tattoo lasered off or what?
Big WWE logo over it?
Just Sharpied over it.
Are you a fan? Remember they tried to bring this back in the mid-2000s?
Yeah, I do remember that.
So do you think, how do you envision this looking? Do you want the old style feel or do you want a new?
You can mix it up between the two. I wonder how successful it'll be. I know there'll be a certain demo that'll watch it Saturday nights.
Sure.
So, people are either home or they're out. It just depends. You're not going to do it's because it's not as set in stone as your Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just one of those things. It's a fun event. It depends on what's going on in the company in terms of what they do. I don't need to go like old school vibe with it. I really don't. There was rumors about Jesse Ventura being there. I don't need that.
No,
nothing against that.
If you want to kick off your inaugural show that way, that's fine. But you don't got to make it a long-term thing.
No.
Like it. Sometimes it's nice to have a little splash of nostalgia for those of us that remember. Sure. Oh, like when he was there, I was like a little kid.
Yeah.
So I kind of just like it's like this ghost of a voice I remember from being a child, and I'm
Sure.
like, oh, that was Jesse Ventura, whatever. But it's okay sometimes to kind of run it back a little bit and say, oh, for this one, like when Raw would do the old school Raw.
Sure.
It's fun. It's cool.
Yeah.
We're not doing this every week,
But
though.
I would treat this more like a pay-per-view that's on TV. It doesn't need to be that intense, but I don't want this to feel like a one-off live show. I want this to like be consistent to whatever stories you're telling.
Exactly.
It goes through Saturday Night's main event.
And give me a big main event for it, because
Yes.
you want to have your kickoff show be huge. But to your point, incorporate stories that are happening.
Yes.
Don't make it like, oh, this is like a house show. This is, live event, whatever.
Announced on the Pat McAfee show, Sheamus has signed an extension with WWE. You like that move, keeping him around?
I think Sheamus is kind of I could be wrong. I think he's a lifer.
Yeah.
He just
we said
seems
that
like-
about Edge, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would have thought more so he was a lifer
Sure.
than Sheamus. But
Sure.
I don't know. It remains to be seen. I just think that WWE has been good to him.
Yes.
And I think that they're probably paying him well.
Yeah.
Especially because we're in an environment where guys will jump ship.
Yeah, I mean, this came a day after he lost to Pete Dunne on Raw. He's a go-to.
Yeah,
So
and that whole story is kind of floundering. So I hope they can move.
I don't hate that Pete Dunne's getting something though,
No,
especially a win.
I like it. I just think Sheamus needs to be on to something better.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I think if you ask Triple H about Sheamus, he 100%. I think a word that he could use is he's my go-to.
Oh,
Right?
he's a Triple H guy.
Yeah,
For sure.
And but it's just one of those, like, if I need a good match, Sheamus. If I need a good feud, like a legitimate heel, face, faction, tag team, he can do so much.
Dude, one of my favorite matches from Sheamus, and I was lucky to be there live. It was, I believe, 2011 SummerSlam, him and Mark Henry.
Yeah, they went through the.
Yeah, and it was so cool because that's the Sheamus I like. Where today you can put him in a match against like a Bronson Reed.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be a technical, submission match. Just let them beat the hell out of each other. And that's what Sheamus's role is, and I love it.
I love it. And it works. It can work as a face, right?
Yeah.
If you want to make him go heel and he can beat the hell out of some of your favorites, he could play that role. He could beat the hell out of it.
And he's believable.
It's believable in so many different ways. He's got the history. He's a former WWE champion, so it's a legit name. He's a go-to for WWE,
Absolutely.
so I love that they kept him around. All right, last thing before we get out of here, and this actually right before we recorded this kind of went out. He's still around. Vince McMahon has released a statement. Of course, we brought up a couple weeks ago that his documentary is coming out on Netflix, and the whole statement was posted on social media. In so many words, it was basically him saying, remember, there are two sides to every story when you watch this documentary. He went into detail about the way they edited this documentary to make it look, who my character was on TV compared to who Vince actually is, and so on. Just quick, again, this literally right before we recorded this, it went out. Quick reaction to this statement going out.
As anybody probably would do, he's trying to get ahead of it.
Sure.
There's enough people who in prior years who don't work for WWE anymore who have come out and told stories about Vince. Those stories have been echoed by a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure they did make it kind of dramatic in the editing and all this, that, and the third. I'm sure that's true. But I really look at it as it's kind of damage control, him getting ahead of it.
Yeah, it's damage control. I mean, it's, I say, people have already given their opinion on you in this situation and kind of already know what this situation is well before the documentary. It is damage control because what are you going to do once you're in as deep as he is now when it comes to this situation? What are you going to do?
It's like if Diddy came out and was like, "You're going to hear some things about me."
Yeah.
It's like,
well,
bro.
it's like, bro.
It's kind of, like it's there,
you know
man.
What I mean, we know the person he is.
Yeah.
We are like, it's already been between all the stories and everything that has come out. We already know what this is.
Yeah.
There's a reason why you're in hiding. No one has seen or heard from you. You have nothing to do with the company that you created.
And that company wants nothing to do with you.
And that company wants something, which involves your family.
Yeah, who have, by all accounts, moved on from any of your involvement.
Yes.
There's a whole other entity, including The Rock, that now has ownership of your company.
Yes.
So,
So it's like, we know what this is. Damage control of every billionaire is going to do
Vince is a politician in that sense of any politician He's going to get ahead of the dirt. They're going to get ahead of what's coming out about them. He's going to try and, like you said, damage control it.
Roar Around the Ring is available every week. Find us on YouTube at Roar Around the Ring. He's that dude, Daryl Taylor. I'm Justin Valentine. Talk to you guys very soon.